Well, Bitcoin's worked out great, hasn't it? I've been talking about that, well, forever, but particularly focusing on it from about May 11, when it was in the mid 80,000s, because I noticed the Fibonacci's were configured in such a way that it was looking like a really promising trade. It took a couple of days to get itself into gear, but that was $16,000 ago. And you know how many people have written me to thank me for that trade? Zero. And you know how many people should have written me? Zero. That's exactly the right response. I'm not here to give you ideas and to be thanked for it or yelled at for it. That's your problem. I'm here to show you what I perceive, what I believe based on market history, and doing this charting thing since 1987, and creating a couple of charting platforms and writing about charting for the past 30 years. Yeah, so I'm not asking for thank yous, just like I'm not asking for you to say, thanks, Tim, for screwing this one up. No, the trades are yours and yours alone. So thank you for not writing me. That's good. And congratulations for those who have quietly made money on the Bitcoin trade. I'm glad it worked out. It has saved my hide recently because, as I've said many times, crypto and Bitcoin in particular is just about the only organic market left. I say that even with, because there's definitely politics around Bitcoin. You know, the whole Clarity Act thing, which they're still, I guess they're trying to ram through, et cetera. And Senator Lummis from Wyoming tweeting about it every 12 seconds. So it's not devoid of politics, but for whatever reason, I guess because the Fed's not directly manipulating it, Bitcoin is a good, classic, chartable creature, and it behaves as God intended. And like I said, it may take a day or two, but it does work out beautifully. So confession time, I have taken profits on that. I think it's far from bottoming. I don't know how long it'll take, but I can easily see going to 40,000. But what does Tom say? Don't sell into the hole. That's kind of what this feels like. And so I am taking profits on the short for now, which is risky because it just might keep falling. And if it does bounce, I'd love to get back into it in a big way around 71,000, something like that. It also has brought me the happy benefit of the crypto creeps not jumping on me because, listen, they say don't talk about politics and religion. Add crypto to that. These guys are weird. So you just don't want to, because they will trot out the same argument. Well, it's up 1 billion% since 2009. Oh, did you buy it at a penny? Congratulations. That's terrific. So anyway, enough of those weirdos. But anyway, congrats to those who made money on the Bitcoin short. Let's jump into the otherwise quite green market of ours. Chips and ships. This holds true. T-minus 8 days till SpaceX. Here is SOXL, the leverage bullish instrument on semiconductors, and it's at a lifetime high. Today alone, up almost 16%. It has gone from around 40 to 260 in the span of a couple of months. Hundreds and hundreds of percent. And even though it's a leveraged instrument, really not too much of a drawdown on the way up here. So eye-popping stuff. Comically, going from chips to ships, here is Virgin Galactic. Remember this one? We closed the show with this one yesterday. This was the one where, and again, I don't know if it's true, but no one could figure out any other reason that this space tourism company that Chamath trotted out and was a complete disaster, like negative 99% plus loss, blasted higher over the past few days, hundreds of percent. And all anybody could guess was, I guess people will think they'll mistype SPCX and punch in SPCE, I suppose. And that made it a brief meme stock. It's down almost 40% right now. And that's even after yesterday being well below its own high yesterday. It got to around 9 yesterday, and it is at half that right now. And I am highly confident that in the month of June, you will have a 2-point-something price on this sucker again. So never, ever underestimate how dumb most people are. Okay, that's my life lesson. It's the first thing I taught my children before doing to others and all that. It's just like, don't underestimate just how dumb most people are. Just don't. And here we have Exhibit D, SPCE. So that was kind of amusing. Diamonds, DIA, a lifetime high. How about that? Okay, up it goes. I am up a little today, in spite of being all short. Bitcoin, as I suggested, did help. But I'm not touching the likes of Diamond because lifetime highs tend to beget more lifetime highs because everybody's a winner. You have no overhead supply. And it feeds on itself until it doesn't anymore. And we're going to see that writ large with SpaceX. It's going to be quite a sight. EEM, the emerging markets, they are doing just fine also. Thanks for asking. Up about 1%. And there's this whole series of gaps, price gaps over the past couple of months as we've trotted higher. And of aid to this is China FXI up over 3% today and blasting toward this pretty significant price gap that was on the heels of the that completely pointless summit that they had last month. As far as the cubes go, up, but more modestly, 0.36%. Lifetime high, of course. And as with SOXL, just a couple of days of selling here, but otherwise just day after day and month after month of green. I believe today is the 9th day in a row the S&P will rise, which hasn't happened for years and years. And I think it's the eighth week in a row, something like that we've had green. The poor bears, poor me, it can't get your break. It is just up constantly. The only good news for the bears at all is that pricing is getting just insaner all the time. And if you can bear it, if you can stand it, if you can stomach it, then your entry prices just keep getting better. I wish they weren't this better. But there are opportunities out there under rocks here and there, although I'm certainly not saying that the stuff pushing lifetime highs every day is one of them. Here's SMH, which I guess in the lingo of these days may shaky my head, and that's appropriate here. This is the just straight up semiconductor fund, up 3.61%. And it is at a lifetime high, of course. Most items within that realm continue to push higher. The AI fever has definitely not broken. And if and when it does break, first they will make movies and books about it galore. I will happily write a book about it. But where will it start? Will it start from CEOs saying, this isn't helping that much, we're going to scale back? Will it come from a lack of consumer adoption? What have you? The fuse will be lit somewhere. Some of you have watched The Big Short, and you saw that, just month after month, they were all going crazy. Like, when is this thing going to break? And finally, a couple of big hedge funds blew up, and that was like the signal that, okay, this is starting to happen. And even when that signal came, it was a good 7 months before things really began to unravel. So it's not like you get a signal and you've got 12 seconds to act. If and when that happy day comes, you'll have months and months to act, I believe. So, but I'm always vigilant, waiting for it. Hasn't happened yet. Intel, amongst those semiconductors, is down. As I said yesterday, when it was also down, it is the only semiconductor I am short. I've got puts on this bad boy, October puts, and those are doing fine. And my target for this would be something like closing that price gap, but it is encouraging to short something in a sector where everything is raging higher except for this one freak over here. And so that's Intel, and I hope it continues to be so. Earnings came out in dribbles and drabbles. We're very much off cycle now, of course. Marvell, MRVL is one of them, blasting higher, about 30% lifetime highs. There's those words again. This has gone from around 73 to almost 300 in the span of weeks. So this is eye-popping stuff. I'm glad I own a house in the Silicon Valley now, because I do not, I mean, with all this new money sloshing around from the stock wealth, it's going to be incredible what people will pay for houses. Between, Anthropic and OpenAI and even just stuff like Marvell, because they've got plenty of shareholders too, you're going to have that K-shaped economy is going to get very warped. Anyway, an unnecessary diversion there. Another earnings item coming out is Hewlett-Packard Enterprises, HPE. And this is, don't let the red bar fool you, it's up big. It's up almost 20%. Of course, the red bar only means it opened really strong and has sold off from some of that strength. So another record high there. Some of the ones that were raging in recent days are starting to look a little tired for the moment. IBM is up again, but it's basically just churning around the same range it was yesterday. And Dell, which I've got, a bug up my bottom about, I've decided early today to short this sucker, and we'll see if that works out. I've got a profit on it so far, but this thing's been a monster. But yeah, I'm short Dell, not short IBM, but I am short Dell. And it is very, very lofty, as you can plainly see. Let's get back to our buddy Bitcoin. Here is the inverse fund, which I talked about. And this is up 6.2% today alone, BITI, and it is beautiful pop higher. As I'm glancing at the Bitcoin chart here, I'm always worried. It's just my nature. And I'm thinking to myself, oh man, should I hold on to that Bitcoin short? Because we're at the lows of the day right now and the highs of the day of BITI. So that's doing very well. And Michael Saylor's strategy is down 10% plus. This is down, by my last calculation, about 76% since October. And I think that's right. No, that's not right. Bitcoin peaked in October. Saylor's company, I'm like the Rain Man of ticker symbols and stock data, so I know this stuff. Saylor's company peaked on, I want to say, November 25th, 2024. I think so. And it was like 553.84, and it was on the heels of the election. And of course, the supposition was, golly gee whiz, we have our crypto president now. Isn't that swell? And so yeah, it's down 76% from those levels. And we are trading on strategy the same price that we were trading in, I think, January 2000. So try to find me an asset 26 years ago, which is the same price. I don't know. Bread flour, maybe? I'm not sure. SBIT, incidentally, for the truly insane among us, is the leveraged ultra short on Bitcoin, and that is up 12.7%. I have 100 seconds left. Okay. I'm long Palladium. I have not been long Palladium since like Thanksgiving or something like that, way back last year. I'm going to give this a go, and fingers crossed. I buy next to nothing. This is my only long, but we'll see how that goes. So feeling pretty good about Palladium. We'll see if I get egg on my face on that or not. NUGT is a based on metals miners. Long term, this looks good too. Nice base there. And, I've been kind of not very nice to precious metals in recent weeks and months, but I'm starting to kind of turn the corner right now about that. It's starting to feel maybe like we got a bottom here. And here's XME, which is having a good day too, up 4.21%. Gee willikers, I'm just about out of time here. Well, sorry everybody. I've got like 8 symbols left. I'm just going to jump to TLT, bang, like so, and say that I roll. I guess you fancy options people say rolled forward or something like that. But I dumped my September 30 TLT options, and I'm in November now. I want to give myself more time. Also, there's an ugly loss on the screen that bothered me. So keep the dream alive, like Tom used to say. So I'm in November's now. TLT $86 puts. And it still looks like a good chunk of overhead supply. So that's, I've always talked about anchor positions of Bitcoin and bonds. Bitcoin I've taken profits on, and shame on me because we're at new lows now for the day. But the anchor position of bonds is still there. So that is it. I'll see you with more lifetime highs tomorrow. And thanks for coming by. Good night.